Hello and welcome back to the Scenario 7 podcast. My name is Sam. I have returned, but two people have been here this whole time, and those people are Joe Roberts, Matt Collier. How are you doing, lads? Thanks for welcoming me back.
I'm doing good, Sam. I'm very disappointed Josh is not here to take his rightful place as host.
Wow, Matt, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm all good. Thank you, Sam. Hope you enjoyed your holiday. And yeah, it's good to see F1 is back. And yeah, very much looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, certainly. Thanks, Matt. See, look how much kinder Matt is to Joe. Joe's like, Josh has been better. And I'm going to be honest here. Josh has done a really great job filling in for me for the few weeks that I was away. So really appreciate that. And thanks to Josh, but he's not here today. Poor from him. Anyway, this is our Spa preview as F1 returns, but we haven't technically done a Hungarian Grand Prix review. So before anything else, let's quickly go back to Hungary. I know it was quite a few weeks ago, but Matt, we'll start with you. What were your thoughts on the Hungarian Grand Prix?
It wasn't going to live up to its expectations of last year being the best race, which we all voted for. The best way probably to describe it was a game of chess. There's a lot of strategy. It wasn't like the most thrilling race in terms of like crashes, safety cars. But yeah, Verstappen qualified 10th and finished first at Hungary, which they call Monaco, about the boats. Kind of just shows the progress they've made with all these regulation changes. And yeah, I enjoyed it because it was a lot of strategy, but I know Joe found it quite boring.
Oh yeah, as my opinion on Hungary, just if you watch the preview, basically stayed the same. It was the only way this race was going to get exciting if tyre wear came into it, and it didn't really. From what I can remember, obviously it was 3 weeks ago, but yeah, as in, I think the one thing you can take out of this race is that Max has now basically got one hand on the trophy with, I think it's only 12 rounds gone, I think, if I can remember. 12.
This will be the 14th round.
Well, 14th round gone. Thank you, man. 14th round gone, and you only got like 9 races left. So it's pretty obvious that in that race around Hungary that Ferrari made mistakes. They're not a well-oiled machine. They, I think, need to fire some people. Maybe there's some questions on the team principal, Bonotto. So it's like that, as in, I remember Sky saying that Ferrari should have 110 points in the championship if they just didn't make mistakes. So Leclerc would be leading, Ferrari would be top of the constructors rather than near a very slow Mercedes. So I think from the race as a whole, nothing really much happened except from Max spinning, or sorry, not Max spinning, Max going through the field starting 10th and just then annihilating the field, and then Ferrari deciding to do a 4-stop, or was it 3-stop for Carlos Sainz and I can't remember, and Leclerc as well. So yeah, very weird strategies and also some questionable driving from some of the Ferrari drivers as well.
Yeah, the thing with the Hungarian Grand Prix being a few weeks ago is that, I mean, talking about it now, it's good to remind ourselves. It's been a long break. It's good to remind people where we left off. And yeah, it wasn't the race that I certainly thought that it could be. I'm a massive fan of this track. I love the Hungarian Grand Prix. But while it did bring quite a bit of overtaking, it was more, as Matt said, strategy based. And Ferrari, mentioned it already, strategy was so poor, and it's cost them again. It's just a recurring thing every week. And it is actually really frustrating to see because Red Bull have walked away with it. In my opinion, I'm going more extreme than Joe. Joe says Verstappen has one hand on the trophy. I think he's had both hands on the trophy for about even before Hungary. I just think that this season, while it's been great in terms of midfield and seeing teams around there, I think Max Verstappen's just been clear throughout. And when Max spins, he still wins. That is the thing. You've had Leclerc spin and Sainz spin this year, and it's just not worked out for them. But Max just has this consistency that even when he makes mistakes, he quickly corrects them and he can still power on to win. And that's why he's going to win this year. And he's just such an amazing driver. But yeah, Ferrari from a strategy standpoint really needs to sort themselves out. Other than that, great double podium for Mercedes. I know that it might be because some drivers didn't do as well as they could have done, but Mercedes have been there to capitalize. Last few races, Mercedes have really come into it. Russell third, Hamilton second. Hamilton was really catching Verstappen at the end, and it was, if the race was a few laps longer, then potentially could have had a fight for the win. But yeah, Mercedes coming back into it, and with this new regulation change, which will supposedly hinder Red Bull especially, who knows, maybe they will be fighting for wins. But yeah, those were my thoughts on the Hungarian Grand Prix. And today, well, it'll come out tomorrow. So yesterday we've had some big news in F1, and this is our opportunity to play Have I Got F1 News for You? And it's completely obvious, and it'll be really easy for you to guess. This was from F1, and it's just a reason to talk about it. Here is the statement. You've got to guess the missing words. Daniel Ricciardo to leave blank at the end of the season.
McLaren.
There you go. Matt's got it
Sponsor.
already. No, not quite.
I'm joking. Yeah, I'm joking.
Leave F1. Who knows? But yeah, in this, it is McLaren. McLaren and Daniel Ricciardo have mutually agreed to terminate his contract 1 year early, meaning the 8-time race winner will depart at the end of 2022. McLaren say they will announce the partner for Norris in 2023 in due course. Ricciardo will do the same regarding his own future plans, but suggested he is keen to stay in F1. Ricciardo is currently 12th in the driver's standings on 19 points, 57 adrift from Norris after 13 Grand Prix. His best finish of the year was 6th in Australia, while Norris has 4 top 6 finishes, including a podium at Imola, and is the only driver outside of the top 3 to get a podium. Let's be real, this news only confirms what has been reported for weeks and what we've pretty much known for weeks. But do you think this is the right decision? And will Ricciardo be able to find a seat in F1 for 2023?
I'll go first on this one. I personally, I believe that Daniel Ricciardo is a extremely talented driver, and I do still tip him as being probably in the top 8 of this current grid. And the reason I would say that is in his Red Bull days back it up, his latter stages of his Renault days back it up, and when he's feeling confident in the car, he can win any race in terms of the fact of what happened at Monza. Obviously, Hamilton basically having go through the whole field kind of helped that, but I don't know. I can understand from a McLaren point of view, as he's not putting the results, only got 19 points. I do think it's probably the right stage for McLaren and with Ricciardo, just because it's not working out. And I don't think there should be any wrongdoing the McLaren have done. I think they've tried their best with Ricciardo and tried to help him with the car. But I do see a future in F1 for him. And if he retires from F1, it will be a big shame, because he is a very talented driver. But then what you could also argue the fact is some drivers that might be past their best are in F1 and holding up a seat for the young guns in F2. So it's a bit, don't know, it feels a bit weird saying that Ricciardo might leave at the end of the season, but I've got a feeling that Haas will take him, as in there's reports that there's Gunther Steiner does like Daniel Ricciardo, so there could be an option there. So yeah, and there's also reports Aston Martin wants Schumacher because Vettel keeps on recommending him. So they might be able to see him F1. So we have to wait and see.
Yeah, I think it was right for Ricciardo to leave McLaren. He just didn't seem very comfortable in the car this season. But yeah, as Joe said, he's a very talented driver. Even at Red Bull in 2014, he was competing with Sebastian Vettel, and yeah, he got so many great wins and had great races. I think the flashpoint really was Baku with Verstappen. I think that's kind of the spiral decline of how Ricciardo's career has gone down. But yeah, he's got loads of experience. It'd be a shame to see him leave the sport, and yeah, we'll have to wait and see if he gets a seat next year.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with all of you. And yeah, it is tough because I have been saying throughout the season that Daniel Ricciardo is a great driver, but it's just not worked out for him. And this sport is very results based and money based, to be fair, in the cases of Latifi and Stroll. But mainly this sport is a results business, and he's just not getting the results that McLaren need to compete. I mean, you see Lando Norris's teammate is absolutely smoking him, and his poor form and his struggle to get in the points on a weekly basis is pulling Alpine closer every week. So I think that, I mean, he does keep his seat for the rest of the season, but I think it is the right decision to let him go. At the end of the day, in order for this to happen, Ricciardo has had to agree to terminate his contract, and he is going to get a shed loads of money. So I don't feel like devastated for him, because he's got a load of money like for them to terminate his contract. And it looks like Piastri will come in, which is like, I bet it'll be like heartbreaking for him. Just another, he's being replaced by a younger Australian. Like, that must be quite, it must be quite hard for him, just thinking, oh, I used to be that guy and now I'm kind of getting phased out. But will he get a seat for next year? You've mentioned a few locations. Alpine, potential there. Haas are looking at him. Haas are also looking at Hulkenberg. I'm throwing it out there. Not relevant, but I'm excited at that possibility. But yeah, I think going back to Alpine makes sense because he was at Renault. But McLaren have made the right decision. Piastri looks like it's coming in, just waiting for confirmation. And it's a real shame because incredibly talented driver. Top 8 on the grid currently, maybe a bit of a stretch, Joe, for me, but he is definitely incredibly talented.
No, Sam. I need to argue this before I get comments on. The reason I say he's a top 8 driver is, but the fact is, in the Red Bull days, he dethroned a 4-time world champion out of a team in Vettel. That basically went to Ferrari because he was too scared of being displaced by Red Bull. And it was this, again, he did what kind of based the same when Verstappen came in. But when Ricciardo has a decent car and is comfortable with this braking and whatever, he is one of the best drivers in F1. It's just the fact is, he's kind of, because of this, the world of F1 being diplomatic base, and you kind of having to pick your own team and picking the potential, he's kind of got it horribly wrong in going when he went to Renault, and then it kind of was a downhill spiral from there.
Yeah.
But he did have, if for example, if he was in a Ferrari, he would be challenging Max and challenging Leclerc. That's how I view it. But it might, if he leaves F1, then that's just the state of play. But for me, he is one of the top 8 drivers.
Yeah, I'm gonna still disagree with you, but I understand your point of view. He was great at Red Bull. I just think that no matter if he's used to the car, I just couldn't put him in the top 8 drivers personally. But that's just personal decision. Now, let's move on to why we're here to preview the Belgian Grand Prix this weekend. First of all, looking at the track, and the track is the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. It is a 7.004 kilometer circuit with 2 DRS zones, 19 corners, and 44 laps. What are your thoughts on this track? Do you think that, I mean, of course, there's a lot of speculation on it at the moment. Do you think it's a good track, and do you think it's worth keeping on the calendar?
Matt, do you want to go first, or you?
Yeah, it's fine. I'll go first. I went to this track in 2019. Saw Leclerc get his first ever Grand Prix win at a time which was a illegal Ferrari power unit. But yeah, I really like this track. There's very little room for error, and yeah, it's really satisfying seeing the cars throw in at every corner. And yeah, they've made some small changes. They basically opened up some of the corners, and yeah, I really like this track, and we'll have to see what happens this weekend. I've already seen some social media F1 teams posting stuff about the weather, but yeah, really like this track.
Yeah, I think it would be a crime if this track is taken off the calendar, just due to the fact that yes, it's a dangerous track, which every as we've seen from Silverstone, every circuit is dangerous. But I think this is one of the pinnacle corners, El Rouge going into Radion. So yeah, as in, it is one of the pinnacle circuits. It's one of the original, I think it's one of the original circuits, I think, of F1. Obviously different circuit because it went through the forest. But yeah, as in, I do think F1 will be getting it very terribly wrong, get rid of children, just due to the fact that it's a very popular circuit with the teams, with the drivers, and also the fans. The only way this circuit, I think, gets off the calendar if it rains too much, and it just looks like it potentially potentially happening this week. So be interesting to find out, but I'll be again very disappointed to see this track off the calendar if it happens.
Yeah, it would be a shame, as you said, to lose it. It's a mix of long straights and challenging corners, which forces drivers to really push their cars to the limits. It has, as you mentioned, the iconic Eau Rouge and Radion section, which tests a driver's nerve going flat out up a steep incline. I've previously mentioned, I think last year, how I felt like the corner needs more safety measures as you're going at such pace, and that has been added this year. They have added some safety features to that corner. I mean, I haven't seen them. I don't know until the race weekend what they're going to be, but I think that it's good that they've added them. Hopefully we won't have to see them in action this weekend. It really is a historically wet track, which, considering last year, is quite an understatement. I think it has rained during the race in each of the last 5 races. I might be wrong, but is it not? Am I wrong, Matt?
No, I just mentioned 2019 and I didn't mention any rain.
That's true. Matt, you're ahead of the game. It might have been the 5 weekends. Maybe that's where I've seen the stat. I've probably got the stat wrong though. But It is a historically very wet track, and it provides good racing. The mixed conditions makes it a lot more interesting than the tracks which are always the same weather, because it means that strategy calls can be changed. You have drivers on the grid like Russell, and even, I'll back him up, Nicholas Latifi, bit of a wet weather specialist. So it means they can thrive and can have some freak positions. So the different weather means it can be very entertaining, and it often has good racing. So hopefully it stays on the calendar for next year. But yeah, that is Spa. Let's look at last year's race in Belgium. It really was action-packed. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to cram it all into the podcast, but I'll try my best. Let's start with qualifying. And in Q3, we had Lando Norris crashing, going up Eau Rouge and Radion, bringing out a red flag, which caused the stewards to hear the wrath of Sebastian Vettel. He really did have a go at Michael Massey that day. He was not happy at all. It ended up finishing with Verstappen first, Russell second, and Hamilton third in qualifying. And then on the way out to the grid, the action started early with Sergio Perez crashing, going from, I think it was P7 all the way down to P19. Well, at first, it didn't look like he was going to be able to race at all, but they did get his car fixed. Good thing they did, because he gained so many positions during the race. And in the end, after 2 formation laps and 2 laps under the safety car, the race was abandoned. The top 10 got half points, which I'm pretty sure, if I remember rightly, me and Joe ranted about for about an hour last year. And it was a complete shambles. And yeah, hopefully we don't get the same this year. It was definitely the pinnacle moment where F1 fans, all of a sudden, if they saw that there was going to rain during the weekend, it used to be, oh, that's going to make the race really excited. And then for the next few weeks after that, whenever you saw rain, it was like the race might not go ahead. We might have Belgium 2.0. And it was just a complete mess. But let's look back at a memory from the weekend. I mean, so many to choose from. But Matt, Joe, what was a memory you're going to pick from the weekend?
I'll go first, shall I? I've got one.
Well,
ready.
yeah, I'm going to rant about something.
Fair enough. I'm going to choose quali. I'm going to choose the hot prospect, and that was Russell the Williams, putting one of the best quali laps he's ever done in very wet conditions at Belgium. And yeah, I know he got a podium because of the scuff race, but yeah, that qualifying alone kind of proves to Toto Wolff how good he is, and that he deserved to be in that Mercedes. And yeah, to out-qualify a 7-time world champion in Hamilton in a Williams kind of just shows how good Russell was in the wet. And yeah, you've already mentioned Lando Norris crashing. Yeah, but they're the main 2 that I've chosen.
Well, yeah, for me, it's the fact is that points. Yeah, again, me and Sam. I'm just going to mention it. The fact is that if you look back in it now, it kind of, this race basically made the championship level. That's a number of mistakes that Michael Massey has said. We're not going to go into that, but yeah, as I think obviously it's I'm joking about that, but yeah, it's it is a talking point. But anyway, Russell I think is probably the highlight. Just again, what Matt said, due to the fact that he beat Lewis Hamilton. There's an argument that should he got a podium? Probably not. Is the argument should have got points? Yes, there is. But yeah, we're not going to go into that. But that's my highlight. It's just chaos.
Nice. I like your pick. It was it was certainly an interesting time with those half points.
Oh,
But
no. Also the fact that the fact is it was if it was 11 on points, but his win, Max's one win was at Spa as well. Yeah.
wow, you know what, Joe? I'm just really glad that you're over it. I'm really glad that you've gone through it and you're totally over it now. I can see you're not salty about it at all, and it's great that you've moved on. I'm proud of you, mate. My memory from the weekends wasn't so much on track. I am going for the F1 Marshals. They were my highlight of the weekend because I was never going to choose something on track because I knew it would just spark a rant. But the F1 Marshals were the pick of several options. I could have gone for the Alpine Macarena and card games. Could have gone for the McLaren garage. On one end, Lando Norris falling asleep. And then the other hand, Daniel Ricciardo was trying to choke out his race engineers. So, and of course, you've got Schumacher and Vettel playing football. There were a few fantastic times there, but my memory, F1 Marshals, they passed the time so well. I felt
5 hours of my time.
Amazing. I felt like they passed the time so well, despite they were getting soaked. They were just in the rain. I felt for the fans. They didn't even get a refund for that. But for some reason, one of them had a bowl set. So they just brought that out and started playing bowls in the gravel. That was fantastic. And then the other iconic moment, I'm not sure if it was the same stewards or if it was different stewards. They decided, you know what, for the day, we're going to make an imaginary pit crew. So they got a little thing to stop the cars. And then all the lads went round and pretend they took the tyres off and then let them go. And it was fantastic. It provided some much needed entertainment for all the fans that had paid a lot of money to see 4 laps. And yeah, that was my memory of a very wet, very shambolic Belgian Grand Prix last year. That was what I have gone for. Now, onto the predictions. And first of all, we're going to go to the prediction table, see where it lands after Hungary. And just to clear this up, we do this on average points so that people who aren't around every week can still be in contention to win. But in first place, Matt Collier, you're still at the top. Your average has dropped, though, from 3.2 to 3 points. You got 2 points in Hungary, so that obviously has dropped your average down, but you're still in first. So that's all that really matters. In second place, it's still Josh on, again, he's dropped 0.2 to 2.8 points. And he also got 2 points in Hungary. So did you, Joe, just to cut to the chase. Everyone got 2 points in Hungary. He predicted it. But yeah, Josh is second, 2.8 points. I wasn't here. Still third on 2.6. Joe, you're fourth on 1.9. You've stayed exactly the same, but have claimed like a really far away decimal. So yeah, you're rising.
Can I have that far away decimal, please?
I think you've gone. I think you are on 1.8.
I want you to say all the decimals.
No, it is. It's 1.875, and we rounded it up to 1.9. And before you were on 1.857. So
okay, I thought it was longer than that.
No, not quite. But you're on your way up. So you're 2 points in Hungary, fourth on 1.9, and then Robert is fifth on 0.5 points. Now, what we predict, let's go through it. So for the predictions, we predict the first accident, what lap it was on, first safety car, VSC or red flag, lap time as well, first pit stop and the lap, and then first blue flag and the lap. And the final thing we predict is who gets the most overtakes, as well as predicting how many overtakes they get. And I'm going to kick us off for this one. And for first accident, I'm not gonna lie, for all of these, I don't have any reasoning. I've gone Yuki Tsunoda. Why? Who knows? Just seems like a Yuki thing to do, really. I've gone lap 1. First safety car, VSC or red flag. I've gone Albon. Why? Don't know. He did it. He was the first safety car, VSC or red flag last week. So I'm going to go for him again. Lap 1. First pit stop, Mick Schumacher. Why? No idea. Just feel like he might pit on lap 1. And then for blue flag, do have a bit of logic here. I've gone with Latifi, and I think he is the most picked driver for any category on this ever. I've gone lap 23, reasoning being that he's the worst driver on the grid in a pretty bad car, so it kind of makes sense. Most overtakes. I like to go for a midfield driver here, and this week I'm going for Valtteri Bottas, and I'm going to go for 6. Those are my predictions. Matt, Joe, what are you going for?
Well, you made me change my predictions. I'm not going to tell you which ones because then you just say I have to say my actual predictions. But I'm going to go lap. This is the usual lap 1, Tsunoda. Not as again, just because it's a bit of a hothead, causes chaos. Stroll lap 1 for accident or safety car, just because it's Stroll. Then I've gone a different one, as in it's pit stops now, isn't it?
Yep.
I've gone Vettel on lap 7.
Ooh.
If there's a safety car, there's no logic to that, so I'm going to pick lap. Would be lap 2, wouldn't it? Because it's when the safety car comes out. So lap 2, just because straight after the safety car, he might have damage, and then might have to go to the pits. Stroll might have just stormed off. So yeah, it's be Vettel on lap 2. Then Latifi on lap 22. Exactly halfway, he's going to get lapped. And then I'm going to go for Ocon with 6 overtakes.
There's a lot of similarities. First accident, I've also gone Yuki Tsunoda. Lap 1, 3 in a row. First VSC safety car red flag. I've gone with one new Joe. Lap 1. First pit stop, Lance Stroll. Lap 1. And first blue flag, well, depending on the weather and if we're actually going to get a race this weekend and if it's going to be carnage and loads of crashes. I haven't actually gone to TV because I think it's actually very good in the wet, and I don't think there'll be any blue flags. Most overtakes, the driver the most overtakes currently this season, Kevin Magnussen with 6.
Sam, can I ask, you know when it says like when you say red flag, can the weather come into that?
Yeah.
Can I pick rain?
No. It has to be a driver. I'm sorry.
Okay. I was just asking just to make sure, because I would have said rain. But
yeah, that would have probably been a good prediction at Belgium as well. And Joe, you can pit on lap 1 because you're technically going into the pit lane before the lap has ended, so you can pit on lap 1.
Okay, Vettel lap 1.
I just wanted to make sure
it's gone from lap 7 to lap 2 to lap 1, but yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, that one.
I like it, Joe. You're just thinking on your feet, and it's always good entertainment. Now let's predict the podium. Now this is the big one with all the big names involved, and it's a bit of an unknown this weekend because, of course, the regulation change. How big an effect is that going to have? The conditions, are they going to play into effect? I will kick us off. I'm not going very exciting. I've just thought, just going to pick a candidate from the top 3 teams. So in third place, we're on George Russell. I've gone for Russell over Hamilton because he just did so well here last year in the Williams that I think that he could do the same in the Mercedes. Second, I've gone for Leclerc. I feel like it's a massive risk to pick a Ferrari in the podium at the moment, which kind of shows the state they're in. But I'm going to back them around Spa. Hopefully, this 4-week break, they've sorted out whatever issues they have. Because they really need to sort them out. And then, just hopefully, firing's me. Just giving them encouragement that they can do it, you know, giving them a bit of maybe also a warning that they might get fired if that doesn't improve. But yeah, first place, Max Verstappen. He's going to win the championship. He's my driver in first.
Okay, so that's interesting. Well, mine is very different to that. I'm going to go for a very solid choice in Russell P3. So I've done the same as you. P2, I've gone Lewis. And I don't know, I'm a bit mixed between either going Leclerc, just if Ferrari suddenly had the early demo of F1 Manager, which is coming out in tomorrow, or no, today, or in on the 30th, or Max. So I don't know. It's a bit of, but I think I'm going to go what I hope, just because I like doing that, and I'll go Leclerc. And also helps my fantasy, so I'll go with Leclerc.
I'll go through mine, go from third to first. I've also got the same driver you all picked in third. I think Russell will finish third, Hamilton second, Verstappen first. A very common podium. Yeah, nothing really exciting.
But it's solid. You're top of the table, Matt, so we need to be the ones learning from you. So no pressure, but make sure you don't bottle it. Make sure you don't bottle it. But that wraps up our podcast previewing the Belgian Grand Prix this weekend. It's good to be back, and we're looking forward to bringing you some content in the coming weeks. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment down below your predictions. If you want to stay up to date with what is happening at the Scenario 7 podcast, our links are down below. And I know that Matt's posting some content over there at the moment. So make sure you go support us. And Matt, you're doing a great job. Keep it up. Thank you for listening. We'll see you in the next one. Cheers.